we're doing this because we're probably sitting more now than we ever have. The whole world, right? And we were already sort of as a Western culture more sitters than many other cultures, but even more so now. So the purpose of this class is sort of to counter effect the sitting, but even if you don't sit a lot, there are ways to sort of posturally and just through movement habits that we've developed over time. There are lots of ways we can turn off the backside of our body, which is actually really normal. Like I see it a lot in the Pilates world, working with clients. So that's why I'm doing this class. We're gonna start on our backs and we'll work into like the trunk of the body a little bit and warm up some of the stabilizers around the spine before we get into the legs. So go ahead and just lie on your back and bend your knees, find your feet on the floor. And you're just gonna pause here for a couple breaths before we get moving, just to kind of get the brain to connect to the body. And as you feel the back body on the floor, back of your head, just do a little bit of a scan through your spine. So I'm going to talk about neutral spine a lot in this class. So just as a reminder with what neutral spine is, it's the alignment of your spine that has all its natural curves. And so as you scan from bottom to top, try to see if you can feel a heavy tailbone. So maybe you can like rock the pelvis side to side. Find that feeling of the coccyx bone. And then as you trace with your mind's eye up the spine, you're gonna feel a slight upward curve or away from the mat curve through your lumbar spine. And some of you might feel your lumbar spine more flat to the ground. And that would mean you're in a little bit of a tilt through your pelvis. So I want you to just kind of rock your pelvis front to back a couple times. And once you get that to that place where your pubic bone and your hip bones make a kind of a level rim of a bowl, that's going to be, for most people, that's your neutral pelvis, which is going to put your lumbar spine in its neutral curve as well. Yeah. And then keep tracing up. You should feel your upper back or your thoracic spine heavy on the mat. Of course, your neck will curve up away from the mat again. And then, of course, the back of your head is heavy. So all these curves, your spine is at its length, its most length, and in neutral. So from here, I want you to just see if you can pick up one knee at a time and come into tabletop. And notice if there's a tendency to move out of neutral when you do that. Yeah. So you can either kind of march one knee up at a time. Yeah. And as you march the legs, I want you to really feel that, the weight of the legs. So in Pilates, we use the arms and the legs as weights, right? They're like heavy levers for the trunk to stabilize against, and this is a perfect example. So as you move the legs around, you're feeling a little bit of work in the trunk of your body, or in the core of the body, to support the weight of your legs. Now bring both legs up and find tabletop. Awesome. Bring both arms up to the ceiling. So now you're in this dead bug position, and we're gonna play with moving opposite arm and leg away from center. So take a breath in here. Try to fill your back ribs and lungs into the floor. As you exhale, draw the belly muscles in a little bit and stretch your opposite arm and leg away from center. Exactly. And then inhale, bring them back up. As you exhale, that same breath pattern, reach along and away, opposite arm and legs. Inhale back to center. And again, switch. Center. And reach. And back up. let's do a few more. I'm really paying attention. Are the curves of my spine still where they were? Good. Awesome. And one more time. All right, good. Now, press your right hand to the outside of your right knee. Yeah, and then push your knee into your hand. So you're making like an energetic isometric hold there. You should feel the right side of your waist maybe light up a little bit, and then reach your left arm back up. Now we're gonna do just the left side body, reaching away from center. I'm still pushing my knee and my hand together, and then back up. And do that a few more times. Good, so a little bit more work through the obliques. Maybe even the side of your hip a little bit, which we'll talk about later. Good, and then I want you to switch. Take the left hand into the outside of the left knee, push, make that lock, and then reach the right arm and right leg away and back in. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling, stretch out long. Good, and we'll do one more like that. Awesome, and then I just want you to roll over to your left side. Roll to your left side. Your bottom knee is gonna stay bent, and your top leg is gonna shoot long. Yes, and I want you to imagine that you're standing on that right leg. So really flex the foot, kick through the heel, and kick so much that the bottom side waist lifts off the floor a little bit. So now you're really stacked, hip on top of hip, you know, shoulders are stacked. We're gonna bring your top leg forward, and you're only bringing it as far forward as you can without letting the spine move. Good, now kick it back behind you. And this is where we're gonna start to feel the back of the leg. Yeah, that posterior chain. Good, do that a few more times. Kick it forward. You get the stretch in the back of the leg. Exhale, then the back of the leg activates to pull the leg behind you. And that is one of the main jobs of the back of the leg, is to put you in hip extension. So it opens the front, they open the front of the hip right here. You can feel that. And then do it twice more. Kick. And back. Good. And this only works if you can really stabilize the spine. So if you feel your spine sort of rounding and arching, you really need to bring more stability. Now pause with your legs slightly behind you. You're in a little bit of hip extension. You're gonna lower the leg a little bit and then lift it up. Lower it a little and lift it up. Good. Yes. You can even bring it back a little bit more, Acacia. Yep, exactly, right there. Now go up and down. Beautiful. So you wanna make sure you're in hip extension. Your leg is slightly behind you as you do these up and down movements with the leg. Also really noticing if the top waist can stay long. I'm really only moving at my hip joint. Yes. So right now you should be feeling the outer right hip. We're getting in and warming up the muscles that we need for balance. Later on when we stand up. We'll do one more, just like that. Up. Good, now everybody just bend your knee. You're gonna roll back through kind of like that dead bug position and go to the other side. And I'm gonna flip. Bottom knee stays bent. Top leg is long, and imagine again, you're standing on that leg. Yeah, flex the foot. Neutralize your pelvis, make sure that the ribs are integrated into the body, and here we go. We're gonna slide that leg forward, feel the stretch in the back of the leg, and then use the back of the leg to pull the leg behind us. Yes, good. Kick it forward, and kick it back. Awesome. Beautiful, two more. And really working from the hinge point at the hip. Talk about hinging a lot too. Now hold the leg behind you, exactly. Now you lift and lower. So in that hip extension, it's like there's a wall behind you and you're sliding that heel up and down the wall. Mm-hmm. Awesome. You can put your hand on your top hip if you need to, just to kind of monitor that stability. Yeah. Good. Let's do 2 more. 1 more. Good, and then lie back onto your back. Just pull your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little hug, maybe rock side to side on your low back. And then we're gonna go into a series of movements that I call bridge many ways. Bridge many ways. So we know probably the standard bridge or hip lift. We're gonna start with that. So feet about hips width apart. And you want your heels to be pretty much right under your knees. So the heels are actually really close to your bum. And you're gonna pause there in neutral for a moment. So neutral spine, a little bit of space under your back, making sure your ribs are integrated. Now, keeping the spine in this alignment, I want you to squeeze your glute maximus muscles, those big glutes in the back. Squeeze those, push through your feet and lift your hips straight up. Good, now release the glutes and lower the hips straight down. So your tailbone will land, your lower back will never hit the floor, right? Because we're lowering and lifting in neutral. Do that again. Squeeze your butt, lift your hips. And hinge at your hips, tailbone straight to the floor. Yeah, so it's not the rolling through the spine like we do a lot of times. It's really hinging at the hip joint. Go up again and release. Maybe the arms can come up to the ceiling as you do a couple more in this range. So there's an activation of the backs of the legs and the glutes to lift, and then you kind of release it. Release those muscles on the way down. Good. Now walk your feet a little bit further out away from you. So now you've got a larger angle at the knee joint. And we're gonna do the same thing. Squeeze your butt, lift your hips up. And release the glutes and lower down. And again, push through the feet, making sure that you're not rolling to the outer or inner edges of the feet. That's gonna tell you a lot about the alignment of the legs. Your knees straight ahead. Good. Let's do 1 more in this range. And lower down. Now we're gonna keep walking the feet away from us. So walk the feet like another couple inches away. Notice that the lever of the leg gets longer and the knee angle gets even wider as well. Push through your feet. Let's do it again. Lift the hips. Some of you might have to lift up the toes and really dig the heels into the floor here and lower down. Option again to have the arms up. So what we're doing is we're training the backs of our legs to get strong in all of these ranges or in all of these lengths. We tend to really work the backs of our legs in a short manner, right? Shortening the muscle to get stronger. But what we neglect is that we need the muscles to be strong in their longest position as well, because that's what's going to translate to all the standing work. And when we sit, all those muscles get short because they're constantly in that shortened position. Good. Now lower the hips, walk the heels out even more. even more. And at this point, I'm just using my heels into the floor. Push through the floor, lift your hips up. And you're probably gonna feel your hamstrings a lot more than you did before. Glutes engaged to lift and lower. And the hips obviously don't go as high as they did before either. Yep, straight up and down. Good. And we'll do one more. All right, now here's the test. So you're gonna see if you can go almost to the longest leg that you can. So my knees are just slightly bent. I'm gonna try to really dig my heels straight down into the floor. Squeeze your butt so your hamstrings don't do all the work, and lift your hips just the tiniest bit. And lower down. Yes, so there's the hamstring in the long position. And this is where the hamstrings start to get a little like, oh my God, I never do this. What are you doing to me? Good. Try 2 more. Squeeze the butt and lift. Good. And lower. And 1 more. Squeeze the butt and lift. And lower down. Okay, that was a lot of bridging. So bring your feet close to you again, sort of right where you started. And now you're gonna do the hip roll. So we'll articulate up the spine. Curl your pelvis under as you exhale. Deep pelvic tilt. Push through the feet. Use your glutes as you start to roll up and lift up. And notice I'm not popping my ribs at the top, right? It's not a yoga bridge. Your sternum is still melting to the floor. Pelvis is slightly tucked under. And now we're gonna let the right hip drop 1 inch. And then we're gonna squeeze the right glute and pick that hip back up to level. Let the left glute drop 1 inch, or left hip drop 1 inch, pick it back up. And the right side drops, and we squeeze and lift. The left hip drops. We squeeze and lift, so it's just a little swivel. Try to keep your knees still, try to keep your feet planted pretty evenly. Not a huge movement. This is really good for not only the glutes, but the lower back stabilizers. And we'll do just a few more each side. Good, and then we're gonna roll down the spine, 1 vertebrae at a time. Take your time, this is really great for your low back to get some opening. And then all the way down. All right, good, bring your knees into your chest. Start to rock up and back your mat. Just give your spine a little massage. And we're gonna come onto our bellies now. All right, so flip on over. And let's stack one hand on top of the other and put your forehead on your hands. And there's a lot of cues before we even get moving, and I'm giving you all these cues because this is the way you're really gonna work efficiently and really access the back of your leg. So, the first thing you wanna do is imagine there's a hook in your pubic bone and you're hooking the mat. So, essentially you're tucking your pelvis under. And just by tucking your pelvis under, you're gonna feel your glutes engage and your lower abdominals. So really get that tuck under. Now you're gonna bend your right knee. And from here, as best you can, without moving your pelvis, I wanna see if you can lift your right knee off the floor. And it's gonna be super tiny, yes. And really flex your foot like you're making a footprint in the ceiling, exactly. And then lower that knee down. Good, and again, so keep the pelvis hooked under or tucked under and float the right knee off the floor. And pull it back down or let it release. And again, push and release. So if you don't keep the pelvis tilted, if you don't keep those low abs lifting, you're gonna really start to use your back muscles for this. And what you actually wanna do is brace the lower back so it's stable, and that way you can really access that posterior chain in the backs of the legs. The next time you lift your right knee, hold it. It probably won't be very high. Now point the right foot and extend the leg long and away from you. Really, really long, all the way to straight. Now flex the foot and pull the heel back in. And do that again. So your knee is floating. You're just extending the knee. Ooh, starting to shake. And bend the knee. Pull the heel into the booty. Yes. And do a few more. Extend. And bend. Obviously rest when you need to. We're going to try 2 more. Reach. And pull. My knee is still floating. 1 more. Reach. And pull. And then lower the knee and just relax. And you can kind of wag your butt side to side. Just release all that. We have another side, goody goody. So let's get right into it. You're gonna bend your left knee, make sure your foot is flexed. Hook the pubic bone if you haven't already. Zip up through the low abs. Now float the left knee. This one's a little harder for me on this side, so you can notice maybe it's harder or easier on one side or the other, and lower. And lift. Once you feel your back muscles start to take over, you know you've lifted too far, or maybe you just need a little bit more connection through the low abdominals, or a little bit more tuck of the pelvis. Good. Next time you lift your knee, hold it up, and it's really just hovering. It probably shouldn't be very much higher. Point your foot, extend your leg long, the whole leg is floating. Reach, 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 reach all the way to straight. Now pull the heel towards the bottom. And extend. So this is a very slow hamstring curl, if you haven't noticed. Almost the entire posterior chain is involved, especially through that lower half. Good, last 2. And last 1. And release the leg. We're going to give the legs a little bit of a break and do a little bit through the upper body. So slide your hands back towards your armpits here, and just take that same tuck of the pelvis. Tuck of the pelvis, right? So hook the pubic bone in, lift your low abs. Keep the pelvis and the legs grounded and start to lift up into a tiny little back bend. So baby cobra pose. Squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back just a little bit. So we're engaging more of the upper back, right? Now I want you to see if you can extend your right arm forward, bring your thumb up. Yes. Now take a big circle out to the side, and as you circle behind you, turn your thumb to the floor. And then big circle back and around. Reach up, thumb up, and then put that right hand down and do the same thing on the left side. Stretch the left arm forward, thumb up, and you're trying to bring that arm up as high as you can away from the floor. Take it into a big circle, high away from the floor, and point the thumb down. Back and around. And put the hand back down. Now I'm feeling my backs of my legs because they're working to stay grounded. Let's do 1 more each side. Reach the right arm forward, thumb up. Big circle, wide to the back, thumb down. And then circle back and around. And back down. 1 more time with the left arm, thumb up, bicep by the ear. Reach all the way back and around. All the way back forward and come down. Now if you're feeling up for it, you're gonna do both arms at the same time or you're gonna rest. Either one. Reach, Superwoman, circle, thumbs down, lift the arms up as high as you can so you get the backs of the arms. And again, reach, and back down. And we'll just do that one more time, or rest. Here we go, reach, circle, back and around. And put the hands down. Push through your hands, sit back into child's pose, hips to heels. Take a little soft wiggle side to side if that feels good. Now we've done a lot of activation into the backs of the legs, so let's give them a little bit of a stretch. Go ahead and come onto hands and knees, tuck your toes under, and lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Oh, wow. So yeah, you might be feeling all that work right now from anywhere from your heels to your sits bones or glutes. Just kind of walk the dog a little bit, one heel down at a time. Good. Lift your tailbone higher into the air. Tilt your pelvis the opposite way we were doing before. See if you can even anteriorly tilt. Yeah, so the tailbone lifts up high. That's kind of like you're sticking your tail feathers out. Good, now slowly bend your knees and come down to hands and knees. We'll do one more thing on the floor and then we're gonna make our way up to standing. So, we're gonna take our right arm kind of right underneath the rib cage. And what this right arm is doing is just monitoring the ribs. So the ribs will have a tendency to kind of fall with gravity, do this kind of dumping thing. Your job is to keep that right arm hugging your rib cage in. And then we're gonna extend the left leg long. So right arm around the waist, left leg long. Notice that your hips are still square to the floor, or I'd like them to be. And then you're gonna use the back of your leg and lift that left leg. Now, sweep your leg out to the side of the room and pull it back to the midline. Good. Sweep it out to the side of the room, pull those ribs in, and slide it back to the center line. Good, do that twice more. Push, pull in. One more time, press it out. This is our glute med again, we're working, pull it in. Now extend your right arm forward with your thumb up. Keep those ribs pulled into your body, pull the leg a little bit higher if you can. Good, and then come back down, hands and knees, and kind of wag your butt. I'm gonna kind of get loosey-goosey with it for a second. Yeah, and then we'll do that whole thing on the other side. So the left arm wraps around the waist. You pull the rib cage up, which is gonna help you keep your thoracic spine in check. Now extend the right leg behind you. Yep, keep pushing down through the right arm as you float the right leg up. And I'm really working to square both hip bones to the floor. I'm gonna keep that leg really strong and long, and I'm gonna sweep it out to the side, and then hug it back to the midline. Again, not a very big movement. This is really slow, small, powerful movements. Open. Awesome. Last two. Really maintaining all the length in the back of that right leg, straight leg. Pull it back. Now hold it. Keep the ribs in check as you extend the left arm forward with your thumb up. Push through that right heel, lift the leg a little bit higher if you can. Good, and then come on back down to hands and knees. Yes, Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up one more time, find that down dog. And then walk your hands to your feet. So here we go with a pretty big hamstring stretch or back of the leg stretch. This stretches the entire glute hamstring region back to the knees. I want you to, in your mind's eye, I want you to draw a line from the heel to the sit bone. The heel to the sit bone on both legs. And then I want you to let your knees bend so your sit bones come closer to your heels. Now, before we straighten the legs again, we don't have to go all the way straight, but I really want you to think of that tensile connection, that strength connection from the back of your heels to your sit bones. So start to pull. Think of pulling like a rubber band. The sit bones up and away from the heels as you straighten the knees a little bit more. Good, now bend your knees again. The sit bones come to the heels. Soften. And again, lift the sit bones up away from the heels like they're being pulled apart. And you may have never really concentrated on this with this move. It makes a huge difference just bringing your attention to that part of your body. And again, push the heels into the floor. Pull the sit bones up, up, up. And two more like that. Bend the knees. Let your head drop as you lift, lift, pull, pull, pull. Last time, bend. And with strength, pull those two points apart. Good. Now, soften your knees one more time. You're going to roll up your spine. All the way up until you're standing. And so now we've done all of this movement. So now we get to translate it to standing, which is going to feel more like real life, right? So check yourself first. Check yourself out. So I want you to just kind of do like a little shake and just stand your natural way. And I'll just show you kind of in my body where I tend to go. So when I don't think about it, my tendency is to push my hips forward and the weight is in the front of the feet. And this is very common, this postural alignment. And you'll see that the center of my hip is not over the heel, right? It's forward of the heel. And what that does is push the pelvis forward, right? It puts a lot of stress on the hip flexors and it actually turns all of this off, right? Like if I poke here, there's really no action. There's no support in the backs of my legs. It's all in the front. So what you can test out on yourself is noticing if this is you. And if it is, the best cue, and you don't have to think about it in any big way, you just want to think about, can I bring my weight in my heels more? And just watch what happens when I bring my weight in my heels. So now my hips are stacked over my heels, and actually I get the tiniest little bit of engagement in the backs of my legs. And you might feel it not much, you might feel it the little subtlest bit, and some of you might feel very profound. So that's a good cue when we go into some of our standing stuff, is when I stand up, am I getting my hips right on top of my heels, or am I pushing weight into the fronts of my feet and turning the posterior chain off? So it's kind of like a postural check every time. All right, so we're gonna do a forward fold. You see this all the time in yoga, and this is the way we've been taught to bend down and pick stuff up, right? We're always, pick with your legs, not your back. So we'll practice that a little bit. I want you to let the knees bend the tiniest bit. Notice if you're this way. Slide the hips back on top of the heels. And then you're gonna hinge. So all that work we did in neutral spine is why is why we did it, right? We're really finding neutral here. We're hinging at our hip joint. Now, that same engagement in the backs of the legs as we found a moment ago, use that as you stand up. Bring your pelvis right on top of your heels. Try that again. So we're going into what's called hip flexion, right? We're flexing at the front of our hip. This puts our posterior chain on a stretch, and this is where our body is when we're sitting. Now to stand up, we're gonna activate the backs of the legs, squeeze the hamstrings, activate the glutes, and stand up. And I'm not talking about a big squeeze, right? It's a subtle thing. So try that again. In the weightlifting world, this is called a deadlift. It's a terrible name. So if you have a weight at home, you could add more load onto this just by taking weights. If you want to grab a weight, in case you can, they're over there on the very corner. So I'm using that same, you can grab 2 weights or 1 big one. Yeah, either one. So that same hinge at the hip that we were practicing earlier, we find right here. And the same stabilization through the trunk or the spine, we have here as well. Now when you stand up, I want you to challenge yourself. So when you come into that soft knee bend, when you stand up, I want you to straighten your legs all the way. And notice when you straighten your legs, does this happen? Right, just pushing forward of the hips. See if you can feel the backs of the legs get long and strong. Hips stack right on top of the heels. And then again, we'll just do a few more of these. And if you're not exactly getting this right away, don't worry. Just keep really feeling into the backs of the legs. Just have your attention there. In yoga, we say where the attention goes, the energy will flow. And this is one of those moments. So we're kind of retraining. We're mapping some new patterns in the body. Last one. Yeah. And then go ahead and put the weights down for now if you have the weights. So now we're going to go into more of like a squat. Or a squat. Not like a squat, a squat. Your feet will be just a little bit wider than your hips. And I want you to really start by kind of rocking back in the heels a little bit more. Because the heels are what connects us, the part of the foot that connects us to our posterior chain. So we're going to put more weight in the heels. Yep. You're going to bend your knees, hinge at your hips, and sit back. Yep. Good. Now push through your heels. Engage the backs of your legs. And here is where we're going into hip extension. Stand up. So see, I really want to go here because that's my tendency. And this is why I love teaching this class, is because I had to learn how to do this in my own body. Squeeze your butt, push through your heels, dig the heels into the floor as you stand up. And try not to do that at the top. Let's do a couple more. And as you squat, I want you to imagine you're trying to rip your mat apart underneath of you. So you're pressing energetically or isometrically out with the legs as you stand up. So now you're going to start to feel the outer hips a lot. I'm energetically pressing my legs out. My knees aren't going anywhere, right? They stay, but you're pressing to the outside. And you'll feel those outer hips light up. Let's do 2 more, just like that. Are you feeling that? Down. Up. And last one. Now, when you stand up on this one, I want you to stand on one leg. So you're gonna start by just lifting that opposite one leg up, and I want you to find length in the standing leg. Just pause there for a second in your balance. Notice if your standing knee is slightly bent. Notice if your pelvis has started to tuck under or you've pushed your hips forward. See if you can find that same alignment that we found with 2 feet. Now back to 2 feet. Take your squat, press wide through the feet. And now we're gonna stand up on the other leg. So practicing from going from 2 feet to 1 foot. Hi, Mr. Fireman, thank you. Thank you for doing your job. Good, so this is the tendency. Some of you, the tendency will be this, right? And that means the connection needs to be a little bit more through the front body. Good, back to 2 feet. So as you rise, you want the balanced effort of the back of the leg working just as much as the front of the leg. Notice if all the weight is in the front of your foot. Good. Squat it down. Shift again. Straight standing leg. So I'm really thinking of that leg that I'm standing on, I'm pressing the back of the leg to the back of the room. Yep. Good, and we'll do just a few more. All the way straight. Glute engaged. Last one. Whatever leg you're on, you're gonna stay on this leg. Now I'm gonna stay really connected to those stabilizer muscles in my trunk that I found earlier. I'm gonna sweep my leg behind me and come into a single leg hinge here. And then I'm gonna stand up. And if at some point you might need a little bit of a balance assistance, you can grab the wall or a chair. And when I come back to this, I'm gonna check in with my standing leg. Yep. Soften the standing knee. Try to keep my hips square. And then stand up. Back of the leg strong. Back of the leg strong. Let's do 3 more, just like that. Little bend. Push to straight. Awesome. Last 2. Yep, arms can go out like a T, like an airplane. All the way strong and long. And yes, this is really kind of an endurance. An endurance exercise, right? For all those tiny little balance muscles. Last time, stand up, straighten the standing leg all the way. Press the back of the leg towards the back space. Good, and then come down to 2 feet. And just kind of, yes, shake it off. Give your legs a little bit of a jiggle. Yes. All right, let's do the other side. So, pull the other leg up. Now, I've already noticed that I pushed my hips out. Do you guys see that? So my hips are in front of my heel. So I'm going to adjust. I'm gonna draw my hips back. I'm gonna put more weight in my standing heel. So my toes can be alive. They don't have to white knuckle the floor. And then I slide it back. I try to keep my hips level, even if we don't go very low. And then I'm gonna straighten my standing leg all the way, press into the back space, and rise. Yep, whatever you need to do with your arms, if you need to grab a hold, that's fine. And I haven't talked about the side of your hip yet, but the side of your hip, this action that we did earlier, those muscles are working. Anytime we're balancing, those muscles are working. Or we want them to be working. So when we strengthen our posterior chain, we automatically decrease the risk of low back pain and knee pain, because the low back and the knees will overwork. When the backs of the legs and the glutes aren't doing their job. Good, 2 more. And you might notice one side is harder than the other. Just notice. Yeah. And last one. Make sure you're breathing. All the way straight on that standing leg, all the way straight. So many of us don't ever feel what it feels like to go straight. Good, and then relax and shake it. All right, the last thing we're gonna do is find our block. So yoga block. This is gonna simulate a step. So here's what we are looking out for, and I'll show you from the back here so you can see my hips. When I step up onto a step, what I don't want to do is this. Right? You know when you see people walking up steps and it looks like this? That's what you want to try to avoid. So let's just step up onto the block, and the other leg can kind of just be dangling. And this would be really good to do in front of a mirror because you'll be able to see the line of your hips. So at home, you can try this in front of your body mirror, length mirror. So from here, I want you to go ahead and let the hips stick out. So I call this the sassy hip. Now, here's your glute medius, the side of your butt. You're gonna activate the side of your hip and pull yourself on top of your femur, your big thigh bone. Feel the difference there. That's your glute med right there. Now let the glute med release so that the hip destabilizes. Sassy hip. Now pull it back underneath of you. Oh! And let it drop. Stick it out and pull it underneath of you. One more time. Let it drop. Pull it back underneath of you. Now, reach your other leg behind you and step down on the leg. And it's a good idea if you want to put your hands on your hips here to kind of monitor. What you don't want is that sassy hip as you step on your step. So shift your weight onto your step without doing this. Keep yourself right on top of your femur bone and maybe try to lift that knee up. And then step it behind you. And try it a couple more times. Can I step up on this mini step without destabilizing my hip? Oh! Ta-da! And then back down. Yeah. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, and then here we go again with that standing leg. Can I get it all the way straight? Back down. Let's just do a couple more on this leg. Good. Last time. Now we're going to stay up on the next one because balancing on one leg in real life, we're never still, right? We're always moving around usually when we try to find our balance. So I just want you to take that free leg and just move it around any which way you want to so that your glute med, all those stabilizers on your hip really have to work. Good job. Yep, you can take it into a circle. Yep. And you've got a foam block, which is harder. It's so much harder. If it's a foam block, this is a cork block, which is more stable. It's already hard enough. Good, and then go ahead and step down. And just pause for a second and feel your standing leg. Just kind of feel that leg, the difference between the two sides. And then we'll change sides. So make sure your heel is on the block, your toes can kind of hang off the edge if they need to. Go ahead and step up. And we're gonna do that little sassy hip exercise. So this leg is dangling. You're gonna let your hip stick out. It doesn't feel very good to me. It might feel natural to some of you. And then pull it back underneath of you. So I'm right on top of my femur. Yes. And you'll see sort of that unstable or unlevel pelvis, and then level it off. Yes. Good. Down. And yeah. So no. Yes. One more time. No. Sassy. Yes. Sassy is good if you're going to salsa dance or merengue, right? Now, take that free leg, step it back and down. And you're not only maintaining the levelness of your hips when you step up, but also when you step down. So practice that. Straight standing leg, you might pull the knee up into you. Yeah, so there's another culprit, right? When you step down, are you releasing the hip? Really good one to practice in front of a mirror. I'm getting strong on this standing leg all the way. I'm getting it tall. And 2 more. Good. Yeah, and just paying attention to your spine too, right? All those curves are present in my spine. Good, and last time. Easier said than done. Good. And then go ahead and step off. All right, shake it off. We're gonna stretch it out. So that's the end of like the hard stuff. Now we get to kind of stretch it out. So go ahead and step to the top of your mat. Take a deep breath in, just reach your arms up. Find a nice long spine and notice again, where is your pelvis in relationship to your heels? Is it in front of your heels or is it right on top? And then the rib cage stacked right on top of your pelvis. Good. And then from here, do that hinge. Putting the backs of the legs on a stretch. Fold forward. Let your head release. Good. Plant your hands, step it back to downward facing dog. And just feel the down dog now. See if it feels any different than it did earlier. Pedal the feet if that feels good. Drop to your knees. And then you're gonna roll onto your back. We're gonna do a couple little hip stretches and hamstring stretches. So we'll start with our left ankle over our right knee. Grab the back of the right thigh, you can interlace the fingers, and flex the left foot. From here, you wanna make sure that you're as neutral as you can in your spine, if at all possible. So making sure your lower back isn't jammed or rounded into the floor. And then you're moving very gently into deeper hip flexion, which means I'm just pulling my legs closer to me instead of rounding the back, right? The tendency is to lift the butt off the floor. So keep the butt heavy, the tailbone heavy, and just draw the legs into you. Take a couple deep breaths and really see if you can guide your breath into your pelvis. One more. Good. And then put your right foot down onto the floor and grab the back of your left thigh with your hands and push the left heel to the ceiling for a hamstring stretch. Now, as you do these stretches, and anytime you do hamstring stretches, like this. Start to bend and straighten the knee. Feel the line, the connection from heel to sit bone. So remember when we were in that forward fold and we were bending and straightening the knees, the standing one? This is the same action. It's that tensile pulling, activation. From heel to sit bones. The hamstring connects to the sit bone. And we'll do one more bend and stretch, and then just kind of hold that leg straight. And if you want to pull it just a tiny bit closer to you. Good, and then just give the leg a shake. Put the left foot down and then cross the right ankle over the left knee. Grab a hold of the back of the left leg again. Again, finding neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Breathing down into the hips. Pull the legs gently closer to you. There's a hinge at the hip joint. Good, now put the left foot down, grab a hold of the back of the right leg. Again, really finding level hips, neutral pelvis. You're gonna bend and straighten the right knee. And as you straighten the leg, push up through the heel. There's that heel to sit bone connection again. One more time. Extend. Maybe pause for an extra breath. Pull it just the tiniest bit closer. Yes. Good. And then go ahead and just relax. Put both feet on the ground. Arms out to a T, and actually you might want to widen your feet about mat width apart, and just let your knees go side to side. Like slow motion windshield wipers. Yep. Good, and then next time your legs fall over to one side, you can just roll to that side. And gently push yourself up. All right, you're done.
Thank you.
I hope you learned a little bit about how to activate the back of your legs.
Absolutely.
This is a great one to do after you've been sitting for a while, or like I'm about to go to the Outer Banks, so I'm gonna be in the car for 5 hours. Before you sit would be a good idea.